Good morning, a pleasant morning to everyone, to our faculty, staff, students, alumni, partners, and distinguished guests. Welcome to the last part of College of Public Affairs and Development's anniversary celebration. I am Francis Jan F. Fadarugao, a university researcher from the Center for Strategic Planning and Policy Studies, CPAf, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. With the theme Forging Leaders for Institutional Governance and Development, CPAf fully recognizes its vision to become an academic institution with distinctive excellence in development studies and governance in support of national development goals in the agriculture and rural sectors and communities in transition. For the first part of our celebration, we were joined by Dr. Clarita Carlos to talk about leadership, governance, and development, and how to choose our leaders. Last week, for the second part, ASEC Odi Pasaraba and Attorney Joey Lina discussed the Bandanas ruling and our local leaders. These events were conducted in conjunction with the university's UPLB Sahalalan 2022. Today, to cap CPAF 24th anniversary celebration, we will be talking about the role of higher education institutions in forging leaders for institutional governance and development. But before we proceed with our program, we will just have a few reminders. For our panelists, would like to request you to please mute your microphones during the program, except during the part for which you will speak. For all our participants naman po, you may use the chat box for your greetings and comments. For those in Zoom, you may key in your questions for our open forum later using the Q&A box. Please keep all conversations equitable and done with good intentions. This online event will also be recorded and is currently being shown live at CPAF Facebook page. To officially start our program, I call on everyone to pay respect as we sing the Philippine National Anthem. And again, welcome po everyone to CPAF 24th Anniversary Celebration, Forging Leaders for Institutional Governance and Development. To set things on the right track, may we call on the Dean of the College of Public Affairs and Development, Dr. Rowena Bacongis, to deliver the opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Francis. Our guest speakers, Dr. Catherine Rowin C. Almaden, President of the Northern Bukidnon State College, Father Ruel V. Lero, President of Holy Name University, my colleagues, students, alumni, our retired CPAF personnel and guests, it is my honor to welcome you to the third part and closing part of the 24th anniversary celebration of CPAF. With the theme, Forging Leaders for Institutional Governance and Development, CPAF tackles issues that directly affects good governance and development. The first part was about elections, the second part was about the Mandanas-Garcia ruling and the governance challenges, and this third part is about HEI's role in forging future leaders. The importance of good leaders cannot be underscored. In fact, during the talk of Dr. Claire Carlos, our first speaker, She emphasized that it is very important to determine the philosophy of a leader by analyzing the leader's decision-making process. In that way, I believe we can determine the leader's integrity and grit. During the talk of former Senator Joey Lina, we saw how his vision for a better Laguna was put in place as he worked and partnered with various stakeholders. But how then do we hone future leaders such that they imbue the right values, develop the skills to lead us to a better future, and continually inspire us to be better? Today, we listen not one, but two of our inspiring alumni. I am happy to note that our speakers for today are our very own alumni who are now in a strategic role of developing future leaders. I am proud to say that both of our speakers were recipients of the competitive CPAf Best Dissertation Award. I am thus confident that with their outstanding performance as PhD scholars and their vast experience in being part and in leading HEIs, we will be learning a lot from them. I am very happy to see all of you virtually, and I wish everyone a productive morning as we learn from not one but two of our experts. Last week, we launched three new books from CPAF, and also launched our Development Innovation Policy Laboratory, which I hope will be part of your collaborative initiatives in your respective institutions. Today, I enjoin all of you to join us as we announce future activities of CPAF, which you may want to be part of. Thank you for celebrating and learning with us. Francis?
Thank you very much, Dean Bacongis, for the welcome message. So, moving forward with our program, we will be having two speakers followed by discussants. We will have the open forum later po. So to start, let me introduce our first guest speaker for this morning. So our first guest speaker is Dr. Catherine Rowen Chico Almaden. Dr. Almaden is currently the college president of the Northern Bukidnon State College. Prior to that, she was employed for 21 years at Xavier University, Ateneo de Cagayan, where she served as the graduate school dean, executive assistant vice president for higher education, assistant dean for the College of Arts and Sciences, and economics department chairperson. She earned her Bachelor of Science in Economics, major in Development Economics in 1997 at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, Master of Arts in Economics at the University of San Carlos in 2007, and PhD in Development Studies at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños in 2018. While taking her PhD in Development Studies, she took additional PhD fellowships through the grants she received at the University of Freiburg, Germany in 2016 and University of Bergen, Norway in 2017. She graduated with Academic Excellence and Best Dissertation Awards and as class valedictorian of the College of Public Affairs and Development. Over the last 20 years, she has attended international trainings through scholarships, fellowships, grants, and award from over 20 universities and international organizations. She has completed over 20 research projects funded by national and international organizations, implemented locally and internationally in multidisciplinary and multi-sectoral groups. She has also produced several monographs and books and over 15 research articles published in international referred journals indexed in the ISI Word of Science and Scopus. Now, let us all welcome Dr. Catherine Wen Chico Almaden.
Thank you very much, Francis, for the generous introduction. Okay. So my sincerest gratitude for this opportunity to share my ideas regarding the role of HEIs in forging leaders. First, let me greet my former mentor and now the dean, a most inspiring leader, Dr. Rowena Bakungis of the College of Public Affairs and Development. And my highest respects as well to all the administrators present, as well as my co-speakers and co-discussants for today's program. Also, let me congratulate CPAf for the 24 meaningful years of forging leaders for institutional governance and development. Again, I am very humbled to be invited to share my insights regarding the role of HEIs in forging leaders. Let me start by giving 4 major propositions in my sharing this morning. First, I believe that context is very important in terms of the different needs and the landscape at which HEIs operate in the production of future leaders. My second proposition is that there is increasing and changing expectations of HEIs in the 21st century. And with this changing landscape and the changing expectations, therefore, my third proposition is that changing the landscape means changing leadership styles. This means that there are different qualities and skills that must be developed by HEIs for the leaders that they produce, and also that this must be responsive to 21st century leadership. And then my fourth proposition is that student leadership development must be embedded in the core functions and mandates of HEIs. In doing so, I'll be sharing my experience as a student of UPLB. So let me start with my first proposition, the context and the changing landscape at which HEIs operate. The first, of course, is the fourth industrial revolution. When this was announced by Klaus Schwab in 2016, the fourth industrial revolution meant that there are now required transformations in terms of knowledge management with strong emphasis on the integration of information and communication technology and 21st century skills. Thus, HEIs must be attuned and align their systems in terms of the new demands of the fire. Another is, of course, the VUCA world, which is characterized by volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. In this VUCA world, leadership meant that the existing problems and the business environment must be responsive to the different demands, and focus must be on agility and quickness and responsiveness in obtaining new information, as well as taking advantage of the different opportunities that may arise. A third context is, of course, the current pandemic. With the arrival of the fire in 2016, not much was done to embrace the concept of flexible and hybrid learning. But with the disruptions, the massive disruptions made by the pandemic, many HEIs were forced to survive and thrive, and therefore to reassess and redefine their strategies and value propositions, and of course, prioritize and determine what are the most enduring learning outcomes that the graduates must develop, given that they now have to transition learning from face-to-face to the virtual platforms. Another major concern brought about by the pandemic is, of course, the unprecedented health crisis will potentially and adversely impact the social and sustainable development of the different parts not only in our community, but globally. And so there are now different demands for how we are going to bring back our economy to the former and the conditions that we're already developing for a better economic and social transformation. My second proposition is that apart from the changing landscape, there are also rising expectations to HEIs. One of which is the role of HEIs in adapting futures thinking, especially in the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals and the alignment of the different programs and the different uh, curricula, especially for the adoption of the Philippines medium-term development plan, as well as the local economic development. So for many HEIs, there are so many avenues that they must be able to respond to. Another is that in the context of SUCs, there is also the clamor for SUCs to become the campus of the future, or what is known as smart campus. We are mandated to come up with strategic thrusts and different measures in order to integrate into our systems, not only in terms of instruction, research, and extension, but throughout the operations of the college system, especially in terms of the management of fiscal and economic resources. And of course, the most pressing and most challenging part is, of course, the major outcome of tertiary education. And the major benchmark and yardstick for that is, of course, the quality of graduates and the ability of HEIs for their graduates to be integrated into the 21st century workforce. So there are different major demands now with the different changes, especially with the current pandemic. As a matter of course, in Region 10 or in Northern Mindanao, the situation is really not so good in terms of labor force participation. So there was a significant drop. And based on the data that was collected from 2020 and 2021, many of the changing trends now is leading to job seekers highlighting their digital and technical skills. So apart from the learning outcomes designed for each program now has to produce graduates that are also digitally and technically able and well-versed in terms of migrating to what we call hybrid work. My third proposition is that there are also changing student expectations to the role of HEIs in producing leaders. First is, of course, the kind of generation that we are dealing with. So we are not only dealing with the Generation Y, or more known as the millennials, but we are also embracing in our midst right now the Generation Z, or the post-millennials. And the post-millennials are, of course, the ones we know as the true digital natives. And also, they are the type of group that are most mobile. They are the kinds of students that are changing their behaviors and mindsets and values, which is quite different from the traditional or the mainstream group from the era between Generation X and the baby boomers. So with this, with the changing landscape, with the changing demands for higher education institutions, the changing demands among the students, I propose that there is also a need to change leadership styles. So when we say changing leadership styles, I believe that you are all familiar of the mainstream qualities that are being currently espoused or promoted in different areas, whether in governance, whether in the business sector, and most especially in the HEIs. So let me mention some of them. So leadership means at the moment is not only individual leadership, but also collective leadership. So this means the mutual accountability and collective responsibility. Another major thought is that good followers make good leaders. There is also the clamor for more engaged and more connected leaders who lead beyond authority. And of course, the quest for integrity. With changing value systems means changing leadership paradigms. From the old paradigm of stability, we now transition to the paradigm of change and crisis management. Before, from control, we now move to the value of empowerment. From competition, we now go for collaboration. And instead of uniformity, we promote diversity. Instead of self-centeredness, we go for higher purpose. And instead of heroism, we go for humility. So with these new changing paradigms, I would like to say that leadership styles would have to change as well. So formerly, from being focused as transactional leaders, we now go for transformational leaders. And here you can see the differences in terms of the concept, which is more emphasis on the values, the ideals, and the needs of the followers. In terms of nature, instead of becoming reactive, we are becoming more proactive. Instead of developing existing organizational culture, we go for changing the existing organizational culture, and so on. So from being bureaucratic, we now call for a more charismatic type of leadership. Instead of planning and evaluation, we aspire for innovation and development. So what types of paradigms, therefore, can embrace these different demands for changing paradigms and changing leadership styles? So with that, I believe that these changing paradigms and changing leadership styles can be adopted if we are able to adopt a paradigm called the design thinking centered leadership. I believe that all of you are familiar with what we call design thinking. And I also believe that even if it is not explicitly discussed, that the paradigm being used while I was being educated during my undergraduate years and more so during my graduate years at UPLB, many of these elements are already present, and I'm very grateful that I get to experience many of these principles while studying at UPLB. So what are these principles of design thinking centered leadership? First is, of course, empathy. Design thinking requires that empathy is the center or is a core value in terms of how leaders relate to users or customers and colleagues. It also requires systems thinking or mastering the systems that allows leaders to understand the different parts and the different components of a system. A core element is also feedback and continuous improvement. In design thinking, the process is always focused on giving feedback and active involvement of users and producers in terms of assessing for continuous improvement. Another important element is the questioning mindset. And I think this is a core value that is instilled not only in instruction, but most importantly in research and extension while I was studying at UPLB. So it's really very much into the idea of taking into consideration of the whys and the what if. So the possibilities, it does not stop with one solution, but it extends itself to the different possibilities and the different alternatives. Of course, collaboration and facilitation is also very important in design thinking. In fact, from the paradigm of competition, now we espouse the concept of collaboration, working together, not by competing, but by building up the strength of each member of the organization. Another is, of course, coaching, which supports collaboration and facilitation. And lastly, change management. In fact, one of the core subjects that I took for my PhD in development studies is really change management, my planned change management. And I'm very lucky that this is one of the courses that was taught during the time I took my PhD, because now with the assignment that I have, I am able to embrace and implement many of the principles as well as the experience I had with the course. So now let me end with my fourth proposition, and that is leadership development among our students must be embedded in HEI's core mandates. And for that, let me use my experience as a student of UPLB. As I've said earlier, design thinking is a way to implement these changes and to adapt to the changing landscape and to the demands of students and customers of HEIs. I would say that even if design thinking is not explicitly announced as the framework of the university system, I could truly attest that many of the elements of design thinking are very much experienced by many students, not only me, in all aspects and the different dimensions of my college and my postgraduate education. I'd like to focus now on the three pillars of design thinking and how I experienced this through my UPLB education. The first one is, of course, process of creative problem solving. While studying at UPLB, I was able to experience all these processes of empathizing, that is, creating meaningful innovations, and getting to know and caring about the users of the different solutions that we produce in our different subjects in our research and extension. Another is the process of ideating. I think this is very much eminent in how our professors, whether in the undergraduate level, and most especially, this is more pronounced during my graduate education, where everyone is invited to share ideas and generate a broad set of possibilities when it comes to discussing specific issues and different situations and problems. So I am really lucky that these different ways of proceeding is exhibited not by one, but by unity of action of all my professors. I believe that we can only transfer these values and these processes when there is consistency and focus, and when this is manifested by all the different faculty members. And I'm really blessed because these unique characteristics are all embraced by my professors. And not only that, during my graduate education, we are very lucky because Collaboration and ideation is very much exhibited by the way our programs were offered. I belong to the unique group of the Mindanao group for the distance or what we call the off-campus PhD program that was sponsored by the UP system. And in our courses, we are lucky because we do not have only one faculty, but at times four mentors for one particular subject. In fact, there was one semester where we have to deal with 18 teachers and professors. How lucky are we that we are exposed to different types of experts, and they are really the leading experts, not only in the Philippines, but all over the world. The second is place. And place in the UPLB educational system is very much diverse. It does not only refer to the physical space, but it actually refers to the different avenues in which we are able to harness our skills and develop our leadership potentials. So this is in terms of our engagement in different organizations, student organizations. When I was in my undergraduate years, I had a very memorable college life, having been involved actively in four major organizations. And in that exposure, I was able to meet people from diverse backgrounds, from different cultural backgrounds. And so as early as my college years, I have learned how to deal and work with people from different walks of life. Also, during my postgraduate years, our teachers exposed us to different avenues to which we can share and harness our ideas. I am very lucky because I have very generous mentors who guided me to access different opportunities where I get to study not only at UPLB, but access also opportunities through my fellowship in Germany and in Bergen. And I thank my mentors, most especially Dr. Agnes Rolla and Dr. Pulhin for guiding me, and Dr. Bakungis for giving me the recommendations to access different scholarship grants for my dissertation, especially in the Asia Pacific Global Network in CIRCA and in NRCP. So with these different exposures that were given to us, we are able to really harness our full potential as students. And finally, the most important of all are the people. Design thinking requires a culture of radical collaboration and collaboration at eye level. And I'm very blessed because while working as a graduate student and while working with my PhD through the grant that I received from the Asia Pacific Global Network and the CIRCA, I was able to collaborate with my teachers and other experts in UPLB in the conduct of research activities in the Philippines and in Vietnam, as well as the conduct of symposia and fora. And my teachers and my mentors were very generous, and even the other members of the UP system have lended their hands in terms of advancing the progression and, of course, in supporting and ensuring that we will succeed in our different engagements as graduate students. And most of all, I end that radical collaboration was really present among all the faculty members that I have encountered during my graduate education at UPLB. And I remain thankful, and I really aspire to pay it forward, because what I am today, I am a product of the generosity of the various leaders. And they are really leaders, not only in terms as teachers, but leaders in the various fields in the academe and in society. So my special thanks also to my former academic advisor in the undergraduate years, now Chancellor Dong Camacho, because he was there while I was in my formative years as an undergraduate student, and he was always also there when I completed my studies in my PhD in development studies. So I end my sharing today with this final thought that HEIs must create the kinds of learning experiences that will enable students to learn what it means to be a leader. So for that, again, I am very grateful for this opportunity to share my insights. God bless CPAf. God bless all members of this community.
All right. Maraming salamat po, Dr. Almadan, for the very informative presentation. Ano po. So indeed, leadership development must be evident in HEI's core mandate. Ano po. So if you already have questions for Dr. Almadan, please type them in the Q&A box or in the comment section of Facebook. Questions will be entertained during the open forum later po. So now let's proceed with our second speaker, Father Ruel F. Lero. So Father Ruel Flores Lero is the fourth and current president of the Holy Name University, Tagbilaran City. He is a religious missionary of the Society of the Divine Word and was ordained a priest on March 9, 2005. He hails from Dumaguete City and is a proud product of Dumaguete South City Elementary School and Dumaguete City High School. He finished his communication degree from the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, after which he studied philosophy at Christ the King Mission Seminary before completing his theological training as magna cum laude at the Divine Word School of Theology in Tagaytay. Further studies in Tagaytay led to a Master's of Arts in Theology, summa cum laude, followed by a baccalaureate in Sacred Theology, magna cum laude, from the Pontifical Urban University. He returned to UPLB to complete a Doctor of Philosophy, major in Extension Education, with cognate in Development Communication, which earned him Academic Achievement and Best Dissertation Awards. Father Lero has held numerous teaching and administrative positions, including Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences and Director of Graduate Studies, National Service Training Program, Center for Research and Publication, and the Center for Local Governance at Holy Name University. His previous assignment prior to his current one was as Program Director of the Divine Word School of Theology before he was Vice President for Academic Affairs of Holy Name University in Tagbilaran City. He served as a faculty member of the Divine Word School of Theology, Divine Word Seminary, Tagaytay City, as well as in Pastoral Communication at the Graduate School of the University of Santo Tomas. A member of the University of San Carlos in Cebu City, Board of Trustees since 2013, Father Lero is also a trustee of Liceo del Verbo Divino in Tacloban City, Divine Word Hospital, Holy Name University Medical Center, and Word Broadcasting Corporation. He is also a life member of the Gamma Sigma Delta International Honor Society, the Phi Kappa Phi International Honor Society, the Philippine Extension Network Incorporated, and the Philippine Association of Agri-Environment Educators and Entrepreneurs Incorporated. Everyone, let's welcome Father Ruel F. Lero.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, CPAf. I'm happy to be with you today. I would like to express my gratitude, first of all, to the organizers of this 24th anniversary program of the College of Public Affairs and Development, for your generous invitation to have me part of this program and to be one of the speakers today. I would like to make a special mention of Dean Weng Bakongis, the kind-hearted servant leader of the college. I would like to say hello as well to all my former professors and mentors in the college, especially in the Institute of Community Development. My appearance today is pre-recorded. I was advised by our technical team to do this since we are still experiencing some intermittent signal interruptions. My task is to share with you some insights on good governance and civic consciousness. I would like to situate this into the context and experience of Holy Name University. I'll begin with civic consciousness. Just like other institutions of higher learning, Holy Name University implements the directives of RA 9163, known as the National Service Training Program, or NSTP. Of the NSTP components, we offer the Reserved Officers Training Corps, ROTC, and the Civic Welfare Training Service, CWTS. As a policy, the NSTP is aimed at promoting civic consciousness among the youth by advancing their involvement in public and civic affairs. Civic consciousness is in fact articulated as the prominent goal of CWTS. In particular, the interest and disposition of the students are stimulated to prepare them for the terminal requirement of planning and carrying out community development programs. In general, however, the students are geared up to value for life, service and commitment, and contributing to the welfare and betterment of communities. In addition to the NSTP, by virtue of our affiliation and partnership with the United Board for Christian Higher Education in Asia, we also established the Service Learning Program. This Service Learning Program is a credit-bearing organized immersion activity where students interact and engage with various population sectors and apply the knowledge and skills they have learned in the classrooms into meaningful service to the community. By this means, we do not only provide laboratory opportunities for training in actual professional practice, but we also promote community involvement and foster civic responsibility. So far, our service learning structures are focused on literacy programs by our students in teacher education and sound financial management by our students in accountancy. As for our graduate students, we are introducing what we call the Holy Name Ethics as part of the institutionally mandated courses. Holy Name Ethics tackles matters relative to values and morals that are expected to shape and influence the lives of products of Holy Name University education. Holy Name Ethics underlines the ideals of civic consciousness as the course discusses social responsibility as an institutional core value and as one of our graduate attributes. That Holy Name University underlines social responsibility emanates from our being under the regulations of the government, the Catholic Church, and the Society of the Divine Word, the congregation that runs and administers Holy Name University. The government has expressed through the Department of Education and the Commission on Higher Education that education is aimed to develop civic spiritedness and serves as a force for social transformation. The Church, on the other hand, through Pope Paul VI in 1965, produced a declaration on Christian education entitled Gravissimum Educationis, and stated that the students of Catholic universities and colleges should not only be truly outstanding in learning, but also ready to shoulder duties of major responsibility in society by their sincere practice of Christian morality and their commitment to create a new, more just and fraternal society. The Society of the Divine Word, for its part, in pointing out the pastoral and missionary slant of SVD schools, acknowledged that, and I quote, "It is precisely in the Christian schools that the sense of universal solidarity, of universal commitment and sharing has to be awakened and practiced." These illuminations from the government, the church, and the SVD have given us in Holy Name University the drive to form our students and employees, and indeed the whole institution, towards becoming socially responsible. Social responsibility for us means that one does not live for oneself, but contributes to the well-being, development, and progress of society. We have seen our efforts in this area bearing fruits. The province of Bohol was also hit by the recent super typhoon Odette. The province report shows that 111 died during the typhoon, 2,040 were injured, 26,117 families, and 61,010 individuals were evacuated. A huge portion of the province is still in darkness, in fact, today, as over 4,000 electric posts need to be rehabilitated. Immediately after the onslaught of the typhoon, relief operations started to get organized. We opened our university to serve as command centers and operations base for various groups, most notably the civil society organizations of which we are part of, the Action Against Hunger, the Boy Scouts of the Philippines, the ABS-CBN Sagip Kapamilya Foundation and Bantay Bata, the World Vision, the Duyog Marawi, the Gift of Life Foundation, and the Save the Children movement. From our end, we organized a local relief setup, starting with a handful of employees and students. We did not expect much since many of them were adversely affected as well. But the response of many volunteers was overwhelmingly magical and inspiring. Imagine they had their own typhoon-related problems to address, but they opted to help the more affected ones. To see them in various points around the campus, packing goods and loading them to trucks, and mindful even of the risks of COVID-19, is to see civic consciousness and social responsibility in action. Now on good governance. Holy Name University has involved itself in various activities that develop and strengthen the capabilities of local government units. In 1995, our involvement in local governance was heightened through the Governance and Local Democracy, or GOLD project, of the United States Agency for International Development. Our efforts were recognized when we were chosen as one of the 6 centers for local governance in the country, which we formally opened in 1999. We were then given financial support provided by USAID through a sub-grant with the Philippine Business for Social Progress and technical assistance through the Associates in Rural Development. Today, our center is a member of the Consortium of Centers for Local Governance, the Local Governance Training and Research Institutes, Philippine Network Incorporated, or the Logotree PhilNet, the DILG Local Governance Regional Resource Center Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Council, and we sit in the special bodies created by the provincial and city governments. Our Center for Local Governance has formed a strong partnership with the local government units in the province of Bohol, and this relationship has enabled us to engage in many governance activities like capacity building trainings and workshops, visioning workshops, planning workshops, consultation sessions, and conduct of researches like the Customer Satisfaction Index System Survey, which we did already for 4 rounds. We were also commissioned by the DILG to train all the newly elected Sangguniang Kabataan officials of the entire province of Bohol in 2018. Our center's programs and technical assistance are also extended even to private business enterprises, religious organizations, people's organizations, and non-government organizations. We take it as part of our mission, utilizing the capabilities and resources available in our university to assist make social institutions adhere to the highest standard of service and bring benefits to society. Our efforts in this area are bearing fruits as well. Due to our track record in assisting local governance, now in its 23rd year, we were selected by the USAID Surge project in Tagbilaran City to be the site of an urban learning development center. For 2 years now, the university offers through this center and in partnership with the Golden Gate University of San Francisco, California, the online executive diploma for urban and regional development that have admitted students from local government units in Bohol and other provinces. And just few days ago, the provincial government has asked the university to co-chair the housing relocation project for those who were displaced by the typhoon. This is a portrait of a public-private sector partnership, which is among the best attributes of good governance. In other words, as to the question on how we as an institution of higher learning can promote civic consciousness and good governance, I would like to forward the following modest opinions. 1, it is necessary that they be articulated as part of the institution's commitment, especially as an added premium to its elemental task of educating students. Education should be seen not only as provision of knowledge and skills in preparation for professional life, but as a process of forming citizens who can truly make relevant contributions to society. This sense of institutional commitment can help achieve this goal. 2, it is beneficial to position the learning of social commitment alongside academic courses. This can be a subtle yet an efficient strategy to prime the students to be professionally competent and socially responsible. Lastly, following the early university extension concept, the HEI can extend its resources and expertise to the community where it operates, not only to augment the quality of life of the people, but also to make the local government leaders honestly advance the interests of the communities under their care. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends at CPAf, I personally believe that civic consciousness and local governance are two sides of the same coin, which we need to propel our beloved country towards a promising future. Civic consciousness and local governance unite our citizens and leaders to work together towards the common goal of conscientiously building our communities and our country better than it is today. A good start would be these coming elections. Let us become intelligent voters who choose leaders who are shaped by these ideals. They can be our paragons of social commitment to whom our younger generation of citizens, tomorrow's leaders, can look up to for inspiration and good example. Then we can pray that the revolution of positive changes and reform will further unfold. Congratulations, College of Public Affairs and Development, on your 24th anniversary. Thank you for this invitation, and again, good morning, everyone.
Maraming salamat, Father Lero, for the very comprehensive presentation about the link between the social consciousness and then the local good governance, ano po, as elemental task in educating our students, especially in the HEI. Ano po. So again, if you already have questions in mind, you kindly type in our Q&A tab in Zoom and comment section in Facebook. Ano po. So let us hear from our two discussants to share their insights about the presentations of our guest speakers. So let me introduce our first discussant. So yeah. Dr. Monica H. Wallet has spent more than 20 years of a productive career in teaching, counseling, coaching, industrial organizational consulting, and psychological assessment and evaluation in various settings. She has occupied academic leadership positions in overseas and private higher education institutions in Singapore and the Philippines. Internationally, she has been appointed as Academic Director of Raffles College of Higher Education, Singapore, Academic Director for the College of Allied Educators in Singapore, Associate Dean of EMC, Academy of Singapore, Program Leader of Psychology and Business School for Monash College, Program Lead at Approved Tutor for the University of Wales, Cardiff, and the University of Chester, UK. In the Philippines, she has effectively managed institutional offices as Director of Human Resource Development, Chair of the Psychology Department, and the Head of the Guidance and Admission Center. She has been a member of the faculty of the College of Public Affairs and Development, University of the Philippines, Los Baños, University of Santo Tomas, Miriam College, San Sebastian College, and the College of the Holy Spirit. As a mental health advocate, an international speaker or trainer, she designs and facilitates training programs aimed at promoting the well-being of Filipinos living abroad and their families left behind in the Philippines, guided by the principles of appreciative resilience, mindfulness-based stress reduction, health, and positive psychology. Dr. Wallet is a registered psychologist and has earned degrees in liberal arts and commerce at the College of the Holy Spirit, Manila, master and doctorate at the University of Santo Tomas, conferring her magna cum laude for academic excellence. She is a full member in good standing of the American Psychological Association, the Singapore Psychological Society, and the Psychological Association of the Philippines. And now, to discuss her insights about the presentations, may we now call Dr. Monica H. Wallet.
Thank you so much, Francis, for the kind words of introduction. I would like to share my slides, just a few one. Just So thank you so much. So I'm really honored, deeply honored to be part of this conversation on the role of higher education institutions in forging leaders, more so to be in the company of formidable educators who have shared thought-provoking insights and lived experiences as leaders in their respective institutions. Dr. Almaden shared salient points on the challenges faced by HEIs in the 21st century, particularly on the evolving and advancing and unpredictable change that is now the norm in the industry and business area, including the academic institutions. I totally agree with Dr. Almaden's contention for higher education institution to survive. It is imperative that leading higher education institutions require continuous adaptation and transformation into agile learning organizations. The impact of the pandemic created numerous VUCA faults and features that higher education institutions will have to restructure, patch up, or redesign. So there's this reliance. HEI are facing mounting issues, no, so to say, because of these concerns like reliance to digital technology alongside with narrow infrastructures, virtual or remote learning to gradual face-to-face learning, the recalibration of the syllabi and assessments versus unfinished learning and learning loss, and the social distancing that created a profound sense of loss of social connections with peers. Truly, the pandemic has changed the school leadership practices towards a more context-responsive leadership, implying new programs that will mold graduates and future leaders with adequate competencies, skills, knowledge, and attitudes suited to the current and ongoing outcomes of the COVID-19 conditions. I would like to cite Matsuda, wherein he proposed that students must graduate with a growth mindset, a mindset based on the 21st century skills such as collaboration, critical thinking, communication, creativity, and compassion. This will capacitate our future leaders to be capable of addressing the extraordinary VUCA challenges. Father Ruel Lero, SBD, shared good number of successful collaborations of the Holy Name University that gave us a clear benchmark of how public-private sector partnerships should be formed and nurtured. These projects and programs are exemplars of what Matsuda proposed about molding and educating students experientially to attain the growth mindset based on the first century skills. Father Lero's modest opinion to promote civic consciousness and good governance are noteworthy. I agree with this view that civic consciousness and good governance should be articulated in the institutional commitment towards forming citizens who can positively contribute to the society. And these values may be reflected in the institutional vision mission statements of that can serve as a roadmap or guiding light of how to get to the terminus of form, the ideal students, our future leaders. So he talked about resource sharing, including in-house expertise to support local government leaders to honestly progress the interests of the communities under their watch. This strategy is quite doable, especially when properly planned out and effectively executed. Offering program courses or academic courses with social commitment can be novel, but again, it could be tricky in honing professional competence and socially responsible graduates. And finally, we are supposed to, we are reminded by Father Lero to be intelligent voters and to choose leaders who are shaped by these principles. Leaders who are models to social commitments, to whom the young generation of students, voters, citizens, and graduates can emulate and look up for inspiration and virtuous examples. I have a few suggestions though. As something that we can consider. Because the pandemic has changed the school leadership practices, it's important that we look into the importance of self-care. Let us see the institutional programs on self-care wherein the mental health and mental hygiene be part of the prime concerns for leaders in the higher education institutions. You have to take note that the Mental Health Act has been officially signed into law and was enacted as the Republic Act number 11036 on the 21st of June 2018. So it provides a rights-based mental health bill and a comprehensive framework for the implementation of optimal mental health care in the Philippines. Implementing rules include integration of mental health into the educational system and mental health promotion in educational institutions. Leaders should prioritize their own health and well-being so that they can be able to help others. School leaders are increasingly confronted to manage emotional responses of their staff and students brought about by the pandemic. For example, anxiety, depression, even anger, loss, or grief. Thus, self-care programs should be part of the formation of well-rounded and well-adjusted leaders of the future. 2 years living amidst the pandemic, we have lost some but gained more, I believe. And I would like to believe that despite the disruption caused by COVID-19, we have a lot of things to be grateful for. Appreciating the available resources we have. We all have the capacity even to share these resources, and this can actually stimulate growth and strengthen our purpose in forging leaders of the future. We can happily and proudly witness the VUCA world being transformed by our very own VUCA leaders, integrating the ideas of our speakers. And from my experiences, we will be able to create visionary and design thinkers, understanding and socially aware leaders, collaborative and appreciative of the strengths of self and others, and of course, agile, resilient leaders of the future. So thank you so much. I am excited that we can have more conversation and further discuss some of the issues that I have raised in line with the speaker's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wallet. I think she did raise important points on context, responsive leadership with the kind of setting we have right now, and emphasize on the importance of self-care. So before I proceed with our second discussant, I would like to acknowledge our Dean of the College of Agriculture and Food Sciences, Dean Agrisip, and of course, the former Dean, Dr. Rola. So, and last but not the least, I will introduce you our last discussant for today. So, Dr. Emily P. Serrano is an associate professor and the director of the Institute for Governance and Rural Development of the College of Public Affairs and Development, University of the Philippines, Los Baños. She is a full-fledged UPLB alumna, having finished BS Development Communication, major in Science Communication, Master in Public Affairs, major in Education Management, and PhD in Extension Education, minor in Development Communication at UPLB. As an educator, she has handled undergraduate and graduate courses in communication, education, and extension. She has also developed and facilitated a number of training workshops and other learning sessions related to education, extension, and research and technical writing. Dr. Serrano considers herself a lifelong learner and has attended several international conferences and short courses, among which the Leadership Development Program for Higher Education Institutions in Southeast Asia of CIRCA in 2020, facilitating multi-stakeholder partnerships to foster sustainable and inclusive food systems in the Netherlands in 2019, and the International Seminar Workshop on New Pedagogies in the 21st Century for Higher Education Teachers in Jerusalem, Israel in 2016. Dr. Serrano has authored and co-authored journal articles in education, extension, and development, and has received Best Paper Awards in international and national academic conferences. She is a recipient of the 2019-2021 One UP Faculty Grant Award for Outstanding Teacher and Public Service. Now, let us all welcome Dr. Emily B. Serrano.
Thank you very much, Francis, for that kind introduction. All right.
Before I start with my sharing, let me thank our distinguished resource speakers for their enlightening and, yes, inspiring presentations that highlight the critical role of higher education institutions in forging leaders. Um, Indeed, higher education institutions or HEIs play an important part in forging leaders. HEIs, as we know, um, are not only a venue to learn more complex knowledge and develop future leaders. It is where the leaders of the future unleash their potentials, learn to be more reflective of the social issues that impact our lives, and strive to make a difference through various social, civic endeavors. As we know, some of our greatest leaders in politics, in business, in the academe, and other sectors of society were once great student leaders. It is in the university where they were able to hone their leadership skills and more so cement their values, their core values, the values that guide them in all that they do. As noted by Dr. Almaden, there are rising expectations of our HEIs. HEIs need to be responsive to the challenges of the times. And part of our response to the challenges of the times is ensuring that we produce the human resource that the future demands. Leadership development, therefore, as emphasized by Dr. Almaden, must be evident in the core mandates of HEIs. We need to help create and hone the leaders that we need in the future. Leaders that would lead us in hurdling challenging in changing landscapes and finding solutions to pressing development issues and problems. In their book entitled Leadership Reconsidered, Engaging Higher Education in Social Change, Astin and Astin emphasized that to cope effectively and creatively with emerging national and world trends, future leaders will not only need to possess new knowledge and skills, but will also be called upon to display a high level of emotional and spiritual wisdom and maturity. And we in the HEIs need to provide the environment and opportunities for our future leaders to develop these much needed competencies. It is part of our mandate to contribute to nation building and ensuring that we provide an environment that nurtures and promotes youth leadership is one excellent way by which we can fulfill that. Hence, I strongly agree with what Father Lero had said that civic consciousness and local governance are two sides of the same coin. Yes, we need them to propel our country towards a promising future. It is therefore just right that HEIs instill civic consciousness among its students. Education as a means for social transformation has long been recognized, and it is thus truly necessary that we position the learning of social commitment alongside academic courses, as mentioned by Father Lero. Accordingly, part of the social commitment of HEIs is assisting local government leaders to honestly advance the interests of the communities under their care, as mentioned also by Father Lero. I'm proud to say that through the years, CPAf has been able to do that through our academic and public service initiatives. All in all, today's learnings are a reminder that HEIs play a major role in shaping the quality of leadership in our country. We must remember that we in the academe have the power and the opportunity to help transform institutions by providing highly effective environments for the development of future leaders. To end my sharing, let me quote William Richardson, President and CEO of W.K. Kellogg Foundation, who provided the foreword to Astin and Astin's book. He said, "Of all the questions about the future of leadership that we can raise for ourselves, we can be certain in our answer to only one. Who will lead us?
The answer, of course, is that we will be led by those we have taught, and they will lead us as we had shown them they should. Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Evely. So thank you very much to our guests and speakers and discussants. Indeed, higher education institutions play a big role in developing leaders. And for sure, our participants have a lot of questions that they want to raise regarding our topic. But before we proceed to the Q&A, maybe our guest speakers would like to comment on the points raised by our discussants. Maybe Dr. Almaden would like to comment first.
Thank you very much, Francis. And thank you very much, Ma'am Evely and Dr. Wallet, for all your feedback regarding our presentations. I totally agree that apart from the things that I have shared earlier, there is also an important consideration, which is the inclusion of the mental health of the leaders themselves, as these are also a way of ensuring that leaders be the symbol of caring. Because as I've said, you cannot, I always say this, you cannot give what you don't have. You cannot be a caring leader if you are not being cared yourself. So I do believe in that notion that mental health is indeed a very important and a core function and an element that must be included in terms of shaping the leadership mindset. I also agree with the thoughts shared by Dr. Serrano regarding the different challenges that HEIs must continually embrace or be more responsive in terms of how they are able to develop experiential learning among their students. Because I truly support that notion as well, that learning does not only take place through the transfer of knowledge, but learning is earned when this is experienced and is embraced. We know that actions and the different experiences that students gain from their educational experience are the things that will remain and are the things that they can carry with them as they join the professional and the 21st century workforce. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Almaden. Is Father Lero around, or can he respond to Kaya?
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Okay.
I'm
Okay,
around.
okay, Father.
I'm also around.
Ah.
No, I
Okay.
totally agree with everything that all the speakers said. I am referring to the guest speaker as well as the discussants. Ma'am Wallet, I'm always reminded by the people around me, Father, be careful with your health. Because it's okay if we get sick, but if the one who steers the wheel gets sick, it's a different story. So I think if we would like to be really successful in informing our leaders tomorrow, the leaders today must be in good health. And one of the areas that we put so much emphasis this time during the pandemic and even post-typhoon period is on mental health. I could speak a lot about the status of mental health and the challenges that we face here in the province of Bohol. It has affected even our students and then many other people. So I totally agree, we have to be very careful about the status of our own health. But on the final analysis, I think what is really very much emphasized today in all the words that came from our insights is that HEIs remain a force for nation building. And I think it is necessary that we live up to that commitment as leaders today. Thank you.
Thank you once again to our guests. So before we proceed with the open forum, I just want to acknowledge Dr. Karen Joyce G. Kayamanda, Vice Chancellor for Administration of UP Mindanao. So welcome to ma'am to our CPAf anniversary. Po. So again, for participants joining us via Zoom, you can send your questions to our speakers by typing them in the Q&A window. For those tuned in via Facebook Live, you may send in the questions via the comment section. Please state the name to which you wish to address your question. Questions are collated and moderated to ensure their relevance to the scope of the presentation. So the first question po here come from Zoom. So question from okay from Dr. Alin Sunurin. So for Dr. Almaden, thank you for your presentations and for elucidating the context of higher education institutions. From what we see globally, there are three competing paradigms that HEIs face. As educational institutions, we have our intellectual role in generating knowledge. Second, we are also bounded by the administration and bureaucratization of HEIs in the Philippines, where we comply with quality assurances and alignment to policies. And finally, responding to the demands of students. So how do we HEI leadership hold this together so that it protects the integrity of academic practice from being too market driven, and most importantly, maintaining quality education in which we have to face the fact that the Philippines are being overtaken by its ASEAN neighbors?
Thank you for that question, Dr. Alin Sunurin. As a young and as a newly inducted college president of a newly converted community to a state college, these are the primary concerns that we are facing right now. So with all those challenges, with the demands, for example, of regulatory bodies for quality assurance, and the changing demands of the HEI landscape, as well as the demand of our students, it's very important that as an institution, you have your set of guiding principles and a set of framework that is embraced by everyone. And that's what we are doing right now in our institution. There should be a set of culture and a set of values that is uniformly exhibited by all members of the college. And this is true for all other HEI. From my experience in my former institution, which I served for 21 years, it's very eminent that we have core values so that whatever challenges, whatever regulations or quality assurance there may be, these values, these core principles that we all adhere as our uniform way of proceeding remains and are able to address the different challenges of quality assurance, the flexibility to adapt to the changing situations. I think that culture of value and that set of principles will make institutions sustainable and remain their fortitude in terms of facing different challenges. So that's why in my own institution right now, we are instituting certain frameworks and paradigms. We are promoting the values of flexibility, focus, connectedness, and commitment. And we stand to these principles in terms of addressing whether it's instruction, research extension, and even in our operations, because this will be our guiding principles in terms of the regulatory requirements. So we have to focus. What are the most important? What are the most urgent that we need to address and that we need to comply? In terms of flexibility, what are the needs right now? As mentioned earlier by Dr. Wallet, there is the absence of connection because of the absence of students in the face-to-face interactive environment. And also, there is challenges in terms of the faculty and reaching out to the students. And so therefore, we have to prioritize, we have to focus on what are the most enduring learning outcomes that our students must be able to take for each course and their programs that they will finish in our institution. So these principles, I believe, or that particular institutional framework that will remain, and that will hold the action of all the members of the college or any HEI is really important, because when an HEI is attacked by the external forces, like the different disruptions that we are facing right now, if your values, if your principles, and if your way of proceeding are not stable, if the foundations are not there, then it would be very difficult to come up with consolidated efforts. Another also is you mentioned about market-driven competition. Again, I think that the role of HEI is to embrace new paradigms so that they are able to develop the different potentials, the different avenues to which their graduates can be employed later on. Gone are the years that our students will be seeking for regular employment. Now we welcome hybrid work. And so with this hybrid work, it's not essentially simply producing products or producing services. For us to succeed, you must be able to reach out to different partners, to different collaborators, and to different avenues to which you can exercise your talent or your skills. The fluidity is very important nowadays because the changing work landscape means that you don't have to report to the office anymore. You don't have to be producing the same type of services and products. And so, therefore, HEIs must be able to pave that way. So, again, I'd like to going back to your priorities. What kind of graduates would you like to produce? What are the most enduring skills or learning outcomes that you want your graduates to have when they leave your institution? Will they just be succumbing to the traditional type of work, or will they be leaders in their own right? Whether it's in, and when you say work right now, it doesn't have to be a relationship that is formal with just one organization, because there are also different avenues to which one is make a living. And so again, it goes back to the priorities of the HEIs. So focus and flexibility, I think, are key factors that are required for leaders nowadays for HEIs like us. So I hope that I have answered that sufficiently.
Thank you, Dr. Almaden, for that very informative answer to the questions raised by Dr. Alin Zunurin. So, is Father Lero, do you have also comments regarding the questions raised by Dr. Alin Zunurin, as well as the discussant, if you have something to say about the questions raised by Dr. Alin Zunurin?
Listening to Dr. Ahmadin makes me feel like an outsider in this conversation. I belong to a private organization, to a private HEI, and we have, of course, different concerns. In the meantime, because of the changing educational landscape and so many other challenges that face educational reform, um, we are talking more of survival in the private sector. Of course, we talk about maintaining the integrity of the academic delivery of academic programs, of our academic engagements, and so on and so forth. But the very concern that is really haunting us and haunting me even in my sleep is to make sure that we continue to exist as an institution in the face of these stiff competitions with government sector. And I think you agree with me on that. In fact, now that I am attending simultaneously a board meeting at the University of San Carlos, one of the things that was discussed just a while ago is how to attract students back to the University of San Carlos. And that is the same concern that we have here in Holy Name University, how to attract students back to Holy Name University. Because many of our students have relocated to public schools. Of course, we continue to talk about that, but I think what the things that are more relevant for us at this point is really finding our niche, and that we continue to remain significant in the community that we are serving, and that we continue to exist. That's why earlier I said I feel as an outsider to this conversation, because many of the things are, of course, maybe part of the urgent priority of the public sector, the public HEIs. But when it comes to the private HEIs, we talk of something that's more practical for us these days. And I don't know if you are aware that according to the report of
the Catholic Educational Association of the Philippines, over 1,000 private schools have already closed down. And that was not only because of the effect of the pandemic, but also because of so much support given by the government to the public sector, with the public schools. Yeah, that is our concern. That is, as I said, what haunts us. And we are trying to brace ourselves also against these challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Lero. How about our discussion? Do you have any response to the question of Dr. Allen Sunuran, if you have? Dr. Wallet or Dr.
Yeah,
Sunuran?
just a short one. Probably this is really a good opportunity for this reflection, purposive self-reflection within higher education institutions to look into the available resources that we actually have and what we can share. Collaboration is really important today so that we remain alive, sustainable for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wallet. So, what about Dr. Serrano? Do you have any?
And similarly, because as mentioned by our resource speakers earlier, so we're facing a lot of challenges, whether we're in the public or private sector, right? So collaboration, partnership is indeed key, okay, to hurdling, okay, these different challenges.
May I add something?
Yes, Pop.
We are quite lucky and fortunate because one of our lawmakers in the province of Bohol has brought us together to the table to discuss concerns that are relevant both to the public and to the private sector. He has brought us school presidents together in a meeting, and we were discussing about collaboration. That's really true. One of the things that we are aiming at this point in time is not competition. We don't want to compete because no matter what we do, we cannot compete with you people. So in order to help ourselves as well, we open the way for collaboration. And just to share, in the province of Bohol, the public university has opened a college of medicine. Because that is an expressed need of the whole province. We need a good supply of physicians to attend to the health needs of the population. But we do not have a college of medicine here. If we were to put that up, it's going to require billions from our pocket. So it's a very expensive investment. So we raise our hands to surrender to the public school that they have more capabilities to build that up. So the public school finally built the College of Medicine. But in order to support the private sector, our island university agreed that we become the feeder schools of the medicine program. So they're not going to compete with the private schools in terms of the offering of science programs that will be preparatory for medicine. So that's why I was telling this lawmaker, this is a good model for that complementary work, no, in the field of education between the public and the private sector. So, yeah, again, that's it may be only in terms of the offering of academic programs, but this collaboration can definitely expand towards working together and helping our local government units and helping our communities rise and become better in the future.
Well, thank you for those responses. And I will just read some comments from our chat box via Zoom. Ano po. So from Eileen Lapitan, so I agree with Dr. Almaden about being grounded on the core values of the organization. And then there's values-based leadership. Ano po. And there's also another comment from Dr. Alin Sunurin, who raised the questions. So thank you, Dr. Almaden, for your insightful response. Let us keep these discussions going. And of course, from Dr. Lero din po for airing the perspective from the private HEIs. This is something we should collectively discuss, whether coming from the public or private. HEI experience informing policy through leadership position. Ano po. So again, if you have questions, so feel free to raise it in our chat box, and okay, we'll just check if there are other questions. Okay. So what about Dean Bacongis? Do you have questions or clarifications to our speaker this morning po?
Yes, thank you, Francis. Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank our speakers this morning who had generously agreed to be with us in our celebration, Dr. Almaden and Dr. Lero, or Father Dudes. No, thank you very much for your inspiring talk. And I would like to also react to what Father Dudes that really for the private sector, it's survival at this point in time, no, because that it really impacted on me because I think I would go back to your thoughts earlier that when you said that civic consciousness and good governance are actually two sides of a coin. And I realized that indeed we tend to focus on our immediate concerns as of the moment. No? We tend to look at what is there, what are our problems, and try to address them. But I guess, as you have said, it's very important that we look beyond the things that require immediate concerns, because there are others who have who have other problems that we can be of help through collaboration. And I guess in here we bring into the perspective that was discussed by Dr. Almaden when she said that we are in a VUCA world. However, Dr. Monica Wallet also said that we can rely on VUCA leadership, which I think was really very important when in the context of a VUCA world, right? So we have all of these concerns that are impacting on HEI, and definitely the concerns and the immediate concerns for the government led the SUCs and the private led HEIs are indeed very different. While we are all concerned with owning leaders, there are things that constrain us. There are things that impact on the way we do. We do these things primarily because of several constraints. And I believe that indeed, with the fact that there are many private HEIs that are closing, it is very important that we discuss this together. How can we ensure? Because I am sure, how can we ensure the survival of all HEIs? Not only survive, but also contribute as well to the goals that they have adhered to and promoted. And I believe that there are opportunities for us to do these things in the future. Indeed, Father Dudes, we hope that we can have partnerships. Earlier, Dr. Almaden and Dr. Lero was talking about possible collaboration, and we hope that this could be realized as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Of course, we have also another question from Zoom. So this question is for those who want to answer about this. So could you possibly give the profile of the leader HEIs? Okay. HEIs forging or hope to forge. This is question from Francisco Felizar Jr. po. So I will repeat the question. So could you possibly give the profile of the leader HEIs forging or hope to forge? Okay, so this is for anyone.
I think I'd like to respond
Okay.
to that. Thank you, Francis.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so as I've mentioned in my sharing earlier, with the changing landscape, there is also changing leadership styles and the changing values that we need to consider in terms of the profile of a leader that we would like to produce. So for me, what's more important right now is, of course, producing what we call transformational leader. So a leader that is moving beyond uh, the individual self, but looking at the group welfare. So that's one. Another is we want a leader who is creative and innovative because the VUCA world has given us so many disruptions and changes are taking place at a speed that's sometimes difficult for us to cope. And so agility is really important when it comes to the creativity or in terms of the innovativeness of the leader that we would like to produce. And of course, most important of all is character and competence. So I think these are the key attributes of the profile of the leader that we would like to produce. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Almaden. So what about Dr. Father Lero? Do you have any comments on that one?
Aside from the concept of a transformational leader, we also speak of a leadership that is based on spirituality, something that brings in the values that we embrace as a person into the things that we do as a leader. So I think if we're going to have this type of leader who has also a vision of transformation, is going to give us a very promising future.
Okay. Thank you, Father Lero. So you have another question from Dr. Jane Reyes. So during your learning journey with UPLB, were you prepared to disruptive situations, for instance, typhoon, earthquake, and pandemic, in teaching learning modalities in course delivery? So I repeat the questions. So during your learning journey with UPLB, were you prepared to disruptive situations, for instance, the typhoon, earthquake, and pandemic, in teaching learning modalities in course delivery? So,
When I was a student at UPLB, at the time of Dr. Serrano, we had, Dr. Evely, we had face-to-face in general. No? We had face-to-face interactions in practically all our courses, except for some sharing of files. Of course, we integrate technology, but in terms of the teaching learning process, the modality of delivery, that was basically really face-to-face. So I know that I was prepared well by CPAf for the things that I'm doing now, but in terms of the teaching process, this is something new, and we have to grapple with these changes now. With the integration of technology into the delivery of lessons and so on and so forth. This is it was not there when we were students because we did not anticipate that these type of disruptions could come into the picture. Yeah.
During our time as students, PowerPoint presentations were already high tech, right? Others.
Yes. Yeah. Well, at least in the preparation of PowerPoint presentations, yes. but we have to learn more how to manage technology so that we can upload our presentations and make them available for our students later on, so they can easily retrieve the files and read the files at their convenience. Yes, in that sense, I would agree. We were prepared to make PowerPoint presentations.
Yeah, they were already high tech during our time. Yeah.
If I may also share, I have so many stories to share actually when it comes to disruptions. So when I was in the undergrad, I could still remember it was in 1994, a super typhoon struck Laguna. And I think it was for a lot of the roof of our university buildings, no, including the library. The main UPLB library was destroyed and was damaged because of the typhoon. And there was also power interruption So for 2 months, we have no water and we have no electricity. That we ended up fetching water at the Baker Hall, in the swimming pool at the Baker Hall. And when the water was exhausted, we went to the different barangays around Los Baños just to look for houses that have the pozo, or the traditional water pump. So that's how far we would go just to fetch water. So I think those years helped me to become, should I say, adaptive to changing situations, because our teachers are really hardworking. Despite the absence of electricity, we were asked to bring flashlights if our classes are held at 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock in the evening, because the teachers will never stop, holding classes, even if there are brownouts. I could also remember there was this earthquake, because there are quakes after the. I entered in 1993. That's how old I am. So during those times, there are disruptions also. But our teachers are very calm. They're not disturbed. So we just continue having classes, even if there are these natural calamities. And during my graduate school years, especially during the class of Dr. Duhay Longsud, so on my way to Davao City, because at that time I was traveling from Cagayan de Oro to Davao City because our classes are being held in UP Mindanao. So I was actually traveling by bus for 6 to 8 hours because of the so many roadblocks at that time. And one of the things that I really experienced was on my way to Davao, there was a typhoon also that struck Davao City, and there was flooding also in the city at the same time. So again, it was also a test of my courage, because at that time, I'm not only worrying about my presentation, because we have presentation and we have a written exam, but I also have to, face the physical challenge, literally, that I have to remain calm, and should whatever would happen, I will have to stay focused also. So those are really moments. And then also another one, there was a disruption in our classes. Our classes were canceled because there was bombing in the city in 2016. So I think, in terms of physical stamina, in terms of mental alertness, my education at UPLB has also helped a lot, because I experienced them firsthand at different levels, undergraduate and postgraduate.
If I may add a little, just a short addition to what Dr. Almaden said, because I think we have some common experiences at UPLB. I was there in '94. I was among those who had to run around bringing pail, looking for water. I was at men's dorm at that time. Yeah, so anyway, I think because I was alone in Los Baños, being a person from the South, I didn't know anyone. I had to find my way through. I needed to survive as well as a student. So I think in that sense, I was prepared by my UPLB experience to be a Filipino, one who is resilient, one who can easily adjust to the challenging times. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Lero and Dr. Almaden. It's really good to hear your experiences during your time here in UPLB. So there's another question. I think it could be the last question. So there is a ranking system among HEIs. How can competition of producing leaders be set aside with this system? The question comes from Mr. Johnny Ibora via Zoom. So the question again is, there is a ranking system among HEIs. How can competition of producing leaders be set aside with this system?
I think the forming of leaders could not be set aside despite the competition among HEIs. Of course, we have to compete with each other in terms of research productivity, producing scientists, quality education, quality of programs, and so on and so forth. But as I said in my input a while ago, if we have that articulated in our institutional commitment, that cannot be set aside. So along with our efforts to compete and to find our way into the ranking, we still have to do our commitment to form leaders at the same time.
Yes. Thank you, Father Lero. Dr. Almaden.
My thoughts on that would be beyond the rankings, the true test of a higher education institution is really the quality of its graduates. And I think that cannot be taken away from what you produce, because that's really the most desirable outcome that HEIs are to produce. So if we are just focused on rankings, of course, the quality of graduates is part of it. Research is part of it. But I believe that the HEIs will really have to ensure that their customer is their students. And I think the ranking should be made manifest that indeed they are serving their students, and the entire community according to the quality of output that they produce. And also the mention of collaboration earlier, I think, again, there is this changing paradigm from competition to collaboration. We cannot exist in silos anymore. We cannot claim that we are best in agriculture or we are best in teacher education. Because in the end, if you are just competing against each other, eventually, when you are not very good in terms of replacing the people that you need for maintaining those records, then you'll end up in the competition elsewhere. So it's better to really collaborate, because then you are able to expand your networks and you are able to ensure sustainability of the things that you aspire to maintain.
Thank you, Dr. Almaden. Dr. Serrano, do you have any response to the question po?
Sorry, nakamute pala. All right. So, so while rankings are very important, I think more important would be how we can help one another improve the quality of education, how we can partner together so that we can solve all of these issues and problems. So, which leads us back to what was mentioned earlier about the need for collaboration and partnership. So although we would of course want to increase our ranking, so we also have to consider, right, the rest of the educational institutions who may also be needing our help. So I think competition can be set aside so that we can help one another improve the quality of education and respond to the demands of the global environment.
I'd like to add.
Yes.
Well said, from our distinguished speakers, and also to Dr. Evely. But we also have to look at it as a competition, as a motivator, as a driver, really, to strengthen us, to recalibrate and to repurpose our higher education institutions towards creating or forging leaders of our future. So I think it's really something that we need to, the mindset, that competition is more negative. It should be looked at in the more positive and appreciative way. Thank you.
Okay, maraming salamat po. So we received a lot of interesting questions this morning, and thank you to Dr. Almaden and Father Lero, as well as our discussants, Dr. Serrano and Dr. Wallet, for answering the questions. But in the interest of time, we have to end the open forum, and we will collate the remaining questions and send them to our guest speakers. So hopefully many of our participants today were satisfied with the discussion we had this morning. And to show our appreciation for the knowledge shared by our guest speakers and discussant, we will proceed to the awarding of plaques and certificates. So I will read lang po the citations in the plaque. The University of the Philippines Los Baños College of Public Affairs and Development would like to award this plaque of appreciation to Dr. Catherine Rowen C. Almaden and Father Roel Lero in grateful recognition for serving as the guest speaker during the CPAf 24th anniversary celebration with the theme Role of HEIs in Forging Leaders, given this 11th day of February 2022 at the College of Public Affairs and Development, University of the Philippines, Los Baños, College, Batong Malaki, Los Baños, Laguna. Signed, Rowena D.T. Bacongis, Dean, CPAf.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So I
Thank
think,
you.
thank you po, Father Lero and Dr. Almaden. And of course, the certificate of appreciation to our discussants. So we'll just read again the citations in the certificate. So the University of the Philippines, Los Baños College of Public Affairs and Development would like to award the certificate of appreciation to Dr. Monica H. Wallet and Dr. Evely P. Zerano in grateful recognition for serving as discussant during the CPAF 24th anniversary celebration with the theme Role of HEIs in Forging Leaders, given this 11th day of February 2022 at the College of Public Affairs and Development, University of the Philippines, Los Baños College, Batong Malaki, Los Baños, Laguna. Signed, Rowena D.T. Bacongis, Dean, CPAf.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, maraming salamat po, Dr. Wallet and Dr.
Salamat.
Serrano. So, of
Thank
course,
you.
yes po. So, of course, we will not let our guest speakers and discussants go without a photo opportunity and po with them. To all our panelists, Dr. Almaden, Father Lero, Dr. Wallet and Serrano, our hardworking steering committee and program committee members and technical staff, for your cameras and for our photo opportunity this morning po. So our technical support team will capture our best smile this morning. So kindly open for your camera if you're still around.
Alright po. 1, 2, 3. Thank you po.
Okay. Thank you once again to our guest speakers and discussants. So before we proceed to the second part of our program, we will have a short break. So take this time for a short coffee break, or if you have to go to your bathroom and So we hope you can still join us for the second part of the program, and for a short break, hopefully you could still be back in our Zoom meeting.
The College of Public Affairs and Development of the University of the Philippines, Los Baños is a premier academic institution committed to the study of development issues, institutions, and communities. Created on January 29, 1998, CPAf upholds the value of transdisciplinary and participatory approaches in honing distinctive excellence in development studies and governance. With its one faculty, one college structure, the College of Public Affairs and Development aims to develop human and institutional capacities through its instruction, research, and public service programs in the following areas: development policy, governance, and community and rural development. Serving as the instruction unit of CPAf, the Institute for Governance and Rural Development, or IGRD, houses all faculty members and serves as home to all academic programs of the college. Under the IGRD, CPAf offers graduate degree programs that equip students with the knowledge and skills needed to become competent and proficient development practitioners, leaders and managers, administrators, educators, policymakers, and researchers. These degree programs include Master in Public Affairs, Master in Development Management and Governance or DMG, Master of Science in DMG, and MS and Doctor of Philosophy in Community Development and in Extension Education. CPAf also offers the PhD in Development Studies or DVST, a cross-disciplinary program. The major streams of this program include Agrarian and Rural Development Studies, Agriculture, Food and Nutrition Security, Education and Development, Natural Resource Management, and Population, Gender, and Development Studies. Moreover, the college offers undergraduate service courses in Education and Agrarian Studies. Students enrolled in these courses are mostly taking up BS Math and Science Teaching, BS Human Ecology, BS Development Communication, and BS Economics. With students coming from diverse national and cultural backgrounds, graduate education at CPAf fosters a learning environment that encourages students to become co-creators of knowledge through research, program and project evaluation, seminars, workshops, community planning, and other course requirements. Students' learning and knowledge sharing are also extended to local communities and institutions. The different organizations in CPAf also offer opportunities for students to build continuing personal and professional camaraderie even beyond their student life. The CPAf Graduate Students Association is the official student organization of the college. Meanwhile, the CPAf Alumni Association is the organization that keeps students connected after their graduation. Together with instruction, research and public service are the key functions of CPAf. The college has two research centers, the Community Innovation Studies Center or CISC and the Center for Strategic Planning and Policy Studies or CSPPS. The CISC conducts integrative community development studies in the areas of community education, development pathways of communities in transition, and community-based strategies for sustainable development. On the other hand, the CSPPS serves as the policy and advocacy unit of the college that centers on social policy and institutions, water and development, and agricultural policy and sustainability. Policy seminars are also conducted regularly to bring timely and relevant information closer to various sectors of the society. Through its research programs and projects, the two centers have been working with communities, local government units, government agencies, non-profit organizations, and the academe toward achieving the common goal of developing the potentials and capacities of people and institutions. Research outputs are published in various publications and presented in local and international academic gatherings. The Knowledge Management Office produces a refereed journal, the Journal of Public Affairs, a newsletter, CPAf Updates, and a magazine, CPAf in Focus, which are all available online. Through print and online media, the college was able to disseminate research outputs and relevant college activities. The KMO also manages the college library and its computer laboratory. Together with its students, faculty and staff, alumni, and institutional partners, CPAf is committed in pursuing future-proof systems in instruction, research, extension, and policy advocacy with distinctive excellence in development studies and governance for nation building and inclusive development.
Good morning again, everyone. Thank you for sticking with us. Hope you're able to energize during the short break, and we will now proceed to the second part of the program, which is the introduction of two new CPAF projects, announcement of CPAF activities, and later on, special closing number by the HIMIG CPAF at iba pa. First in our list of new projects is the CPAF Commons. CPAF Commons is a program that aims to create digital information products of the college, particularly in the form of webcasts and podcasts. And to discuss this further, let me now call Dr. Nico Jason C. Anastasio, University Researcher and Assistant to the Dean of CPAF.
Salamat, Francis. So magandang hapon po or magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. As part of our anniversary celebration, we are excited to introduce another offering of the college, the CPAF Commons. It is a digital platform for instruction, research, and extension. So CPAF Commons is a college-wide extension program which aims to create information products based on the theories and concepts that could be learned through the different programs of the college. So CPAF Commons is also designed to serve as a platform in sharing the results of the different research activities being conducted by the faculty and reps of CPAF. So these information products are also designed to be used by the students as learning materials for their courses or for their respective research activities. So the management of CPAF Commons is under CPAF CIMRC, or the Communications, Information, and Media Relations Committee of the college, which is headed by Ms. Stella Concepcion Britannico, and the Knowledge Management Office, or KMO, which is headed by Ms. Samantha Geraldine de los Santos. So under CPAF Commons, we have two main programs, starting with Patok, Usapang Public Affairs and Development. So monthly episodes of Patok will be released through the official YouTube and Spotify channels of the college. So it will be hosted by our very own Ms. Samantha Geraldine de los Santos, again from KMO, and from the Community Innovation Studies Center, or CISC, and Ms. Danica Amor Domingo of the Center for Strategic Planning and Policy Studies, or CSPPS. So here is a sneak peek of the official logo and banner of Patok. So for 2022, our initial lineup are the following. The first one is Small Islands and Application of Sustainable Livelihoods Framework by Dr. Eileen Vilapitan. The next one is the Appreciative Inquiry within the context of OFWs, which will be discussed by Dr. Rowena de Tibacongis and Dr. Emily de Colen. The next one is Sayotama Satomi, or Socio-Ecological Production Landscapes and Climate Smart Communities by Dr. Anna T. Kimbo and Ms. Samantha Geraldine de los Santos. And we also have Innovation Theory and Technology Transfer among SUCs by Mr. Haji C. Halothot. And lastly, we have Participatory Community Action Planning for Climate Change Adaptation for Fisher Folks by Ms. Maria Francesca O. Tan. So aside from Patok, the college will also will have another offering. This is Let's Talk. So leading education towards successful teaching and lasting knowledge. So this will be a weekly offering and will be released all throughout the semester. So this podcast will highlight different topics related to education and development. So the discussion will be done with the faculty members of our college, Dr. Emily Serrano, the head of the Institute for Governance and Rural Development or IGRD, together with Dr. Monica Wallet and Dr. Emily Dicolen. So for the semester, they will have a discussion on the following topics. First one is readiness for blended learning. It will be followed by perceived impact of remote learning. The third one is learning loss or poverty or unfinished learning. And the last one are the challenges and interventions to address issues related to education. So to capacitate CPAF faculty and staff in creating webcasts and podcasts, CMRC will conduct the following activities. The first is the basics of script writing for podcasts and webcasts. And the second one is the basics of podcast and webcast production. So now, before I end, let us hear the sneak peek of the pilot episode of Patok.
Geographically sila yung nasa laylayan ng ating bansa, ano. So napaka-importante ng konteksto ng pag-intindi sa small islands, lalong-lalo na kung ating pinapahalagahan yung value ng inclusive development.
Again, maraming salamat po, and that is CPAF Commons, the new offering of CPAF.
Maraming salamat, Dr. Anastasio. It looks like there's a lot of digital content that we'll be looking forward this year in 2022. And now let's move on with the CPAF microsite. So the CPAF microsite will be collecting and sharing important information and documents for our CPAF constituents. We'll now call Ms. Samantha Geraldine de los Santos, University Researcher and Head of the Knowledge Management Office of CPAF, to share the details about CPAF microsite.
All right, thank you so much, Francis, and thank you for your for taking interest until this point of the program, everyone. I'm so happy to see you. Now, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about the microsites that, not only the microsites, I would also like to introduce to you our fresh website, which our very own university extension specialist, Ruth Cabral, has worked on since last year. Because I don't want everybody to miss out on our website. Kasi yung microsites natin is connected with our website. So let me just share my screen to introduce to you our microsites. So here we are on our official CPAF website. Our microsites are accessible over here. I hope you can see my mouse as I go over here on our website. Now, why do we have our microsites? Let me just click on first on the faculty and staff microsite. Why do we have here? Why do we have these kinds of microsites? Now, number one, this is a privilege that we have with our Google Workspaces. You can actually do your own microsite if you like to just organize your files, or maybe create your own profile of who you are as a faculty or researcher and share it with your friends. All right. All they need is to have a Gmail account or maybe a up.edu.ph account. All right. So part of the fourth industrial revolution is that we have to push towards digital transformation. As a PMO head, I realized how many of our processes have to start transforming, all right, in order for us to adapt to the new situation. As a state university whose mandate is honor and excellence, I understand that we can never be left behind, nor can we leave our faculty, staff, and students in the dark.
And so with that, we have developed this microsites so that everything that you will need, basically the files that most of the time our people are looking for example, our vision and mission. If you need to access the file regarding our restructuring, it's here. Just click on that link and it will take you on that file. We have here our online DTR for OMS. We also have it here. You can actually put this on your home screen para pagbukas nyo pa lang ng as a staff of CPAf or as a faculty, pagbukas nyo pa lang ng inyong browser, you would be reminded to log in to OMS. And maybe if you're coming to the office or you're working from home, you can start logging in and logging out using just this website. Nandito na lahat. I've also realized that OVCA actually has employee forms available online. So if you need any form from them, you just click here and it will automatically take you to OVCA's website. I'm just sorry that it takes a little bit longer to load, but yeah, you have it all here. If you need that, it's here. All right. We also have collated the Citizens Charter. If Sandy has asked you for a copy, it's here. We have the university's 2023 Revision Citizens Charter Handbook and a folder dedicated for each unit. We also have here the UPLB COVID-19 response that will take you to the link or the website. And I would like to highlight this as this is a work that was passionately created by or done by Ms. Roxanne Banalo, our infection control officer in CPAf. All the things that you need about COVID-19 and the protocols that we have in the university, and even yung mga memorandum circulars, she already have a list here. So if you have questions about what are we going to do now with our situation, it's here. You can just browse over it. So why do we have something like this? Because if we are, as a knowledge management office, we believe that we are not just to catch the information or all the forms that we have. We have to make it also, we have to process it and make it available for people for a more efficient work for everyone. So I have also dedicated pages for each of us, for each of the unit from the Dean's Office, even for KMO, for CSVPS, CISC, and IGRD. I would like to thank Tita Lisa because she is working on all the on all the files that we have, especially regarding admin orders and memos. We have created a summary list. If you have to look for a memo and you can find it on your email, maybe it's here. All right. We have here the letterheads. This is very important. If you have accidentally edited your letterhead, a copy of your letterhead, it's easily accessible here. We also have other resources that we think would be valuable for you. Now, let me highlight some of the things that KMO is doing also. If you have a request for our services, you can click here. For CPAf Library, you can also click here. For JPAD editorial policies, just in case you are interested to submit a manuscript with us, it is here. For the CIMRC materials, lately we are being asked to comply with the visual identity guide. So the materials that you will need to maybe craft or create a banner for your activities, it's here. All right. So that pasok tayo dun sa nire-require ng ating Office of Public Relations and the university as well. We have here our knowledge products and the CPAf Zoom virtual background. So I will just click on the other parts of the website for everybody just to see. If in case you cannot access our microsite, give us an email because this is exclusively for faculty and staff use only. All right. Now, let me proceed with our microsite for the students. This has been carefully curated by our librarian, Ms. Ruth Rasco. All the things that you need regarding requests for library services is here. All right. This is all the links have been very well thought of so that yung mga estudyante natin and even faculty and staff actually could see what do we have in our library, how can they borrow, an online ID validation is very important every semester. All right. Okay, for this one naman, this UPLB CPAF library microsite is available for everyone who has a up.edu.ph account. So if you are affiliated with the university, just use that login and you can automatically browse over here and access all the library services that we have with CPAF. All right. So with that, I hope we just give time to visit our website. Our next project actually will be after the anniversary. I will push through with the updating of the profile of all faculty and staff, especially that we have new hires, we have faculty and staff and researchers who have been promoted. All right. So please, what I would like to just say is please browse our websites because I believe in an open system type of thing. All right. If you are into sociology of formal organizations, feedback is very important if we want to improve our services. So please do click on our websites, browse them, and let us know what you think about our websites. And if there are any areas to improve, please do send us an email so that we can provide you better services online. Thank you very much. That's it for the CPAF website and microsites.
Thank you, Ms. De Los Santos, and I'm looking forward to explore the functionality of the microsite. And I think it's really a good thing that we have serve as a one-stop shop for the needs of the staff faculty with regards to different memos or admin orders or anything that they wanted to explore within the university as well as in the college. So thank you for that. And then before we wrap up today's event, we would also like to share the upcoming activities of CPAF. And here for our announcement of activities are Dr. Alin Sunurin and again, Ms. De Los Santos.
Okay, good morning, everyone. All right. So I am here to announce briefly that we will be having the third run of the International Conference for Governance and Development, but this will be on July 2023. So this is rather a very early announcement, but this time I would like to take advantage of this very short announcement to explain to you why the conference will be very significant next year. So as you can see, 2023 is a year of transition. So globally, a lot of countries, including the Philippines, will have its elections this year, and new governments will be steering national agenda by next year. And also, we are seeing a lot of social and economic roads to recovery brought about by the COVID-19. However, this will still happen on the backdrop of persisting issues such as climate change, food insecurity, public governance challenges, and the likes, which affects institutions, communities, and individuals. So thus, we in CPAF, we recognize that these are multiple societal pressures, and we intend that ICGD3 will be a conference or will be the space to generate mainstream, critical, and of course, we will always open ourselves as well to non-conformist ideas that will ignite the debates for governance and development in the future. So in preparation for ICGD3, we are lining up pre-conference activities this year. So it will include roundtable discussions. We will open spaces or voices for our students. We will have student paper, posters, presentations. And of course, we also want to touch base with our stakeholders through policy workshops. So this and all, we encourage everyone to regularly check on our Facebook page. So our Facebook page is formerly the Facebook page of the ICGD2, but we will update those with the activities relating to ICGD3 and all our upcoming activities. So we hope, so in behalf of our committee who will be organizing this very important conference next year, so we hope to see more diverse, more global, local contributions in this next year's ICGD3. So thank you very much, and we look forward for everyone's participation in this very critical juncture for discussions of governance and development. So that's all what I can share at this point. Thank you.
All right, for the last announcement for the day, we have uploaded new articles for the Journal of Public Affairs and Development. If you would like to get a copy of any of these six articles, can we show the next slide as well? All right. So if you want to just access these files, just give us an email to jpad.uplb@up.edu.ph, and we can provide you access to this wonderful articles, very, very informative articles that we would like to share with you. Now, we are also accepting manuscripts for this year. We don't have a deadline yet, but if you're interested, do give us an email. And as well as you can check our website, or especially for our colleagues here at CPAf, you can check our editorial policies, as I've mentioned in the microsite. Thank you.
Thank you, Mama Lynn Sonurin and Ms. De Los Santos. It looks like CPAF has a lot of in store for us, and we hope that you could also join us in our future activities. So, we are almost at the end of our program, and thank you for staying with us up to this point. For those that want to secure an e-certificates, kindly accomplish our evaluation form that can be accessed through the QR code or link na fina-flash mo natin and shared on the comment box. Please accomplish the evaluation form on or before February 14, 2022. So before you go to your dates, to kindly accomplish the evaluation form. So once again, thank you for joining us in this 3-week-long celebration. And we hope that through joining our webinars, you were able to gain information on the importance of forging and honing competent and dependable leaders. And to formally close this morning's program, we will now have the Director of the Community Innovations Studies Center and Chair of the Steering Committee for the 24th CPAf Anniversary Celebration, Director Blanquita R. Pantoja.
Thank you, Francis. As CPAf celebrates its 24th founding anniversary, I look for its significance. I found out that the traditional theme for the 24th anniversary is Opal, which is thought of in terms of inspiring love, purity, and hope for the future. The last meaning struck me, and part anniversary celebration centers on the forthcoming election, which is a very critical event that will definitely shape our future and give us hope too. The 3-part celebration made us realize various aspects of the election that we as citizens, whether coming from the government or private sector, should bear in mind. The discussions of Dr. Clarita R. Carlos, our guest speaker for the kick-off celebration, stressed the importance of taking part in the electoral process. And she also pointed out this to ensure a bright and sustainable future. For the second part of the anniversary celebration, CPAf held a policy forum where invited speakers, Attorney Joey Lina and DILG Assistant Secretary Odilon Pasaraba, talk on the Mandanas ruling and what are the prerequisites for its efficient and effective implementation. Today, our guest speakers, Dr. Catherine Rowin Almaden and Father Ruelero, spoke on the roles and challenges of the higher education institutions in molding the students to prepare them to be responsible adults who will eventually be our future leaders. With this, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all the 5 speakers that we invited in our 3-week celebration. I also wish to express my gratitude to our discussants today, Dr. Evely Serrano and Dr. Monica Wallet, as well as our discussants last February 4, Professor Mayo Amit and Dr. Vela Aquino. All of you surely provided us various insights and future challenges to ponder on. The anniversary celebration also saw the announcement of various CPAf activities that will unfold in the future, and this include the CPAf Commons, CPAf Microsite, the 3rd International Conference on Governance and Development, the acceptance of articles for CPAF's very own journal, the JPAD, and of course, the implementation of the Development Innovations and Policy Laboratory or the Deep Lab. We hope that these new endeavors will forge more collaborations with our stakeholders. Please allow me to express my gratitude to those who work hard to make this three-part anniversary celebration possible. Kudos to the program committee, which is headed by Dr. Miriam Karil Karada. Mika, thank you so much. I'd also like to thank the awards committee, which is headed by Ms. Ruth de la Cruz. Many thanks also to Dean Bakungis and her staff at the Dean's office. And of course, the Knowledge Management Office, which is headed by Ms. Samantha de los Santos. They took care of the promotion and also in keeping touch with ITC for this Zoom meeting to be made possible. And of course, I'd also like to thank the CPAF Exco members who are all part of the steering committee. Lastly, I'd like to thank all of those of you who joined us in our celebration. Your support has surely encouraged us to be better researchers, educators, and public servants. We hope that you will continue supporting us as we enter our silver anniversary. And I also wish that we would be able to see all of you in our celebration next year of our 25th year. With that, thank you very much. I'm giving the floor back to Francis.
Maraming salamat po, Director Pantoja. And I think that's a wrap for our CPAF's 24th anniversary celebration. And once again, maraming salamat po for joining us in this 3-week-long celebration po. So with just less than 4 months from the upcoming national and local elections, we hope that our events po natin for the celebration po of our CPAF, we're able to raise awareness po about the important matters related to the elections. So we remind everyone to vote wisely, do your research in picking your leaders, and if you must, as Dr. Carlos advised, so argue like a scholar in selecting the next leader of our country. So once again, thank you everyone for joining us today. This is Francis John F. Faderugao, and we hope you enjoyed and learned a lot from our events. But before we close this event, the CPAf Himig, CPAF at Iba Pa prepared a video presentation for us, and this will be followed by UP Naming Mahal. Once again, thank you, and may everyone be healthy and safe. God bless you all po.
If you break down the composition of the Lupang Hinirang into 3 distinct movements, the melodic patterns in its third movement, beginning with Lupa ng araw, ng luwalhati pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo, aming ligaya ng pagmay mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa iyo. Evoke the opening strain of the French march La Marseillaise. Felipe's choice of the march as musical influence could be due to the similarities in the goals of the Philippine and French revolutions, which both aimed to free people from oppression. Striving for harmony amidst diversity, Himig CPAf at Iba Pa presents Do You Hear the People Sing?
Do you hear the people sing, sing the song of angry men? It is the music of the people who will not be slaves again. When the beating of your heart echoes the beating of the drums, there is a life about to start when tomorrow comes.
Will you join in our crusade? Who will be strong and stand with me beyond the barricade?
and join in the fight that will give you the right to be free. Do you hear the people singing the song of angry men? It is the music of the people who will not be slaves again. When the beating of your heart echoes the beating of the drums, there is a light about to start when tomorrow comes. They will live again in freedom in the garden of the Lord. They will walk behind the plowshare. They will put away the sword. The chain will be broken and all men will have the reward. Will you join in our crusade? Who will be strong and stand with me? Somewhere beyond the barricade, is there a world you long to see? Do you hear the people sing? Say, do you hear the distant drums? It is the future that they bring when tomorrow comes. Will you join in our crusade? Who will be strong and stand with me? Somewhere beyond the barricade, is there a world you long to see? Do you hear the people sing? Say, do you hear the distant drums? It is the future that they bring when tomorrow comes.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.